Chiefs Kingdom, welcome in to the AP breakdown after a week off. Happy holidays. It's that season. We each had some Thanksgiving plans going on. So, breaking down that Panthers game, wouldn't have been fun anyway. But this may not be that fun either, this Raiders game. So I am Ron Kopp Jr., lead analyst at arrowheadpride.com. With me, as always, Caleb James at CJ Scoobs on Twitter. Great film analyst for the site. And Caleb, yeah, we again that week off, nice to get a little break, but this Chiefs team is not changing much. The same trends are happening. You took in that game at home Black Friday, that 19-17 win over the Raiders. Just kind of your thoughts going into week 14 now.
Well, they made it a lot closer than it needed to be against a 2-win ball team. And in a lot of ways, man, just the struggles in this game there wasn't anything new, like a new hiccup or anything that happened that like we haven't seen yet this season. It's kind of the same stuff they've been struggling with throughout the month of November in general. I mean, they
Yeah.
came out in November suffering only one loss to the Buffalo Bills, but it definitely wasn't a pretty month. But hopefully they could put that behind them. We got a couple of things to look at tonight, just revolving around like pass protection, the opponent's pass rush this week, and then, just our usual look at kind of why the offense this year has been so off.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. It just feels like it's the same game over and over. This month of November, I think I was thinking about that earlier today, so I'm glad you noted that. But there's been 5 games in November. They've been 4-1 in that stretch, but it just feels like similar struggles where pass protection. These last 2 games, the Panthers and the Raiders, both in the top or the bottom 6 of the league in sacks, have had 5 sacks each game. That's unprecedented in the Mahomes era. We never get that many sacks in a game. Happened twice in a row. Explosive plays on defense, being allowed. That's just been a huge theme of this stretch. And then, obviously the pass rush and having Charles Menu back, that was nice. We'll get a little glimpse of that in some of these plays tonight, but it's not mattering as much because this coverage, man. That's where we're going to start. The coverage is really what's just been such a negative trajectory and negative trend for this Chiefs defense this last month of November. That Bucks game, that Tampa Bay Bucks game was the first game in November. And that was a game where, the Bucks, had a chance to win it. Baker Mayfield was dicing it up. Big plays were happening. And it just has felt like ever since then, it's just been a little shaky in the secondary. So before I get into it, Caleb, I don't know. I mean, do you agree that you've mentioned November? So it has felt like this stretch, and maybe that turn of the month, maybe that'll get us turned around. Maybe.
Yeah, this team is missing Jalen Watson. They're missing that presence out there. They've thrown some different guys out there between Najee Johnson and Josh Williams, and they just haven't gotten the job done nearly the way that they've needed to for this defense.
No, the Jalen Watson thing, I'm glad you brought that up. It reminded me of a stat I saw today from Aaron Schatz. Does great stuff with used to be Football Outsiders. But he mentions how since week 7, the Chiefs are ranked 29th in EPA per play allowed on pass plays. 29th in the league. Week 7 is when Jalen Watson got hurt. The week 1 through 6 before that, they ranked 4th in the NFL. So it's been a huge, drastic turnaround since Jalen Watson's injury. And we're going to start with actually the latest turnaround in the lineup, the latest change in the lineup where Najee Johnson started. He's been starting the last few games, obviously. But you're going to see here, this play got him benched. And, it's these kind of plays that are just plaguing the Chiefs defense right now. What you're going to get is the Chiefs are playing a zone coverage. They're playing too high. So, he does have the safety help over the top, but the Raiders do a good job of pushing that safety inside with the vertical route, in. And so it does kind of take Connor's attention. But man, this is just, you got to make a play here because what it is, Najee Johnson is playing his responsibility at the line correctly. If there's a player in the flat, he needs to give that respect, and he needs to be able to play both of them, right? That's 100% how it works. If there's someone working into the short area of the field right here, he needs to respect it. It's a 3rd and short. And so that's how he's thinking about it. But man, you have to have the instinct to understand there's no one over here. The routes are gone. There's no one you have to respect in the flat. If actually you look inside and you see as a defensive player, the running back is to the other side of the field. There's no tight end to that side. You need to this needs to turn into man coverage, and that's why Spags benches him, because he expects his corners to have the instinct, to have the understanding that, okay, yeah, at first you need to respect that kind of shorter route on a 3rd and 3 because it could be popping out. That is your responsibility. But man, you have to see that there's nothing coming, and you just gotta lock up at that point and just not let anything happen to that. Like, it's not, you don't have safety help at that point. You don't think about safety help at that point. And that's where, and that was the play that got him benched. And it just kind of shows that, and I've kind of made this comment, Caleb, on Twitter, but the Chiefs have been employing safeties to play corner, and that includes Najee Johnson. He was a safety in college, and they converted him to cornerback. And you're seeing some of the things maybe instinctually why that's not always a good idea. Yeah, L'Jarius Sneed, transition from safety to corner, but he actually was originally a corner, an outside corner at Louisiana Tech, transition to safety from then. All that to say, man, it just feels like, that Najee Johnson is becoming, the trust in him, maybe was a little inflated from practice things because he just doesn't look very instinctual as a cornerback. And that has led to Joshua Williams playing, which I do think Joshua Williams, had, some good reps, made a play or two. But I will show you here on the second play of this clip that, he wasn't perfect either. But this one's all about the safeties being attacked in man coverage. And that's really what we've seen, these last 2 games. The Panthers diced them up whenever the Chiefs blitzed and trusted safeties on wide receivers. But this is actually just a safety on a tight end, which Brock Bowers got to respect. One of the best tight ends in the NFL already, just having a stellar season. But man, this is all about situation. This is all about understanding what's going on by Chamari Connor. He has man responsibility on Brock Bowers all the way. It's 2nd and 17. So you kind of have to expect to have some sort of pass threat, right? Like, there's a play action here, but and a lot of teams do run on 2nd and long at times, especially, in a field goal position, a field goal range. But at the same time, he just plays this like he's going to have to beat this block too. He doesn't react to the pass quick enough, right? He comes up, he attacks him, he latches on, and then he just gets beat. And then it's just straight getting beat. And that's where Brock Bowers is a really talented football player. But you're seeing that too often with these safeties just getting beaten man coverage. He needs to have more respect for the pass situation in this. It's 2nd and 17. Like, you need to play a little more over the top and not, and expect that he might be going for a deep over route, or, it's something that I'm sure they do a lot with Brock Bowers in situations where they need a big pass. So the play action gets him here, and then it gets him again. And this is the 2 plays later. And the same thing happens where the Raiders challenge the safeties in man coverage. They actually do a really good job of designing this, where the Chiefs are in their base front. They're matching 12 personnel because there's 2 tight ends. But the Raiders go in trips. The Chiefs are actually going to run blitz this. It's a 1st and 10. They think they're going to get a run. And so they're trusting that, hey, behind that run blitz, we're going to have safeties pick up. Once they motion over, Jay Reed is that strong safety. They don't want Drew Tranquill to go out. It's Jay, because he's, they're defending the run. So Jay Reed's got to have to pick that up. And he just doesn't give himself enough cushion. Like, he just gets burned. That's like, as a safety, you have to have more instinct and understand that, like, this is a really fast slot receiver. Like, there's no reason he shouldn't be bailing and just playing so over the top of this. He should be breaking this pass up. Instead, he just lets himself get beat. And that's happened this year too many times with Jay Reed, where he's not respecting the vertical threat enough, the explosive play ability enough. Like bend, don't break. Like, we need to have more bend, not break in this Chiefs defense. And these kind of plays are just frustrating. Again, explosive plays, can help turn games. The Chiefs only had 3 points allowed through the almost the end of the 3rd quarter, Caleb. And it just felt like the coverage was the problem. Because before I get into the last couple of clips, Caleb, I'll give you the opportunity. Like, some of these plays, I should have noted it more. The pass rush is a second from getting home, and guess what? The coverage is just allowing a quicker throw. Did you feel like the pass rush was a little more productive with Charles Omenihu?
Definitely. And I mean, Chris Jones and Karlaftis both had big games. You kind of had a feeling. You kind of had a feeling those 2 were due to have nice games. Having Omenihu was nice back in there. He's obviously still getting his feet wet a little bit, but you got to feel like the group of people I think you were a part of that was saying all offseason and into the preseason, this team really does need another cornerback option, probably feel a little bit vindicated right now in that the Chiefs gambled a lot on some of their in-house guys who've looked good in other spots. Like Shamari Connor has looked very good,
Right.
playing downhill. Josh Williams has looked good in the goal line. Najee Johnson has looked good in certain situations, but they don't quite have a guy right now. Not saying that they can't get someone to step up that looks like they're ready for prime time.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really good point about it all, man. It just feels like Jalen Watson was a lot better, first of all, than we thought, but also like this team clearly hasn't developed the back of the cornerback position enough. And they felt like they did, right? They felt like they had guys, but just not. You can, obviously trusting Najee over Joshua Williams so strongly over the last few weeks has been kind of perplexing to me. They finally made the move, but I just feel like it kind of shows you that they don't trust Joshua Williams either, but they're gonna have to now. I did want to show, on that play, that the touchdown. I'm gonna bring it back here because if you look at the bottom of the screen, Joshua Williams, is manning up Brock Bowers down here, and he easily could have been giving up the explosive play here. So it's Joshua Williams, and is still going to have his shaky plays, but I honestly do like them giving him the ability, to use his length, to just be more disruptive. Maybe like if you get beat, at least he has a little more length than Najee, where he can maybe get his hand in there. He can be more fit. Nazee's been physical against the run, but I think Joshua Williams just has that too. And can be physical on the line of scrimmage and disrupt routes. I will say that's something Trent McDuffie talked about in his press conference today. Spags harped on them this week, being stronger at the line of scrimmage, disrupting routes, disrupting the time between quarterbacks and receivers. Joshua Williams can do that with his length. Now, can he get two hands and he get penalties? Absolutely. But you might have to kind of, live with that right now, or just kind of, force the ref's hands at this point. Now, 2-minute drill. The Raiders had a couple drives that got them in position, close to, past midfield and close to position to kick a field goal. And again, it just comes down to instinct from individuals. Nick Bolton here. The Chiefs blitz Drew Tranquil. Bolton's going to drop to kind of the flat, not necessarily the flat. He's going to do the hook curl zone to this whole side, right? So he does have responsibility in the middle of the field, but he just has to feel. To me, it just feels like once you feel that outside receiver pass you vertically, and he's going inside, and you have who this Jay Reed is right here on the other side picking stuff up like that, you should have eyes to the flat, especially if it's a guy like Brock Bowers. And I feel like he's turned around at one point just looking like, where is everybody? There's only one receiver to that side from the formation, or two receivers that side from the formation start, and one of them stayed in the block. You should have eyes on that guy close, more immediately, especially in the 2-minute drill where you can't give up those chunk gains like that. To me, it's just, you kind of see this from Bolton a few times, where it's just kind of what he lacks at. And that's why it's like, why isn't, he blitzing where Tranquil is the one dropping? It's just, sometimes it's situational to me. And this is the perfect example of you said it earlier, where Connor has shown good things at times, but the Chiefs just have to play him out of position right now because they don't have anybody else to play in the slot. They don't want to put Trent McDuffie in the slot because that exposes more of the Chiefs' outside cornerbacks who they don't feel good about. So then they have to leave Shamari Connor in man coverage against guys like Brock Bowers. And this is just like, he just doesn't even give this a shot. He is too lackadaisical in his coverage right here. Like, he's trying to get over the top. But it's a tight end. Like, you should be able to feel good about your speed to not allow a vertical play over the top. You should be able to play this a little tighter and not allow this to be such an easy completion over the middle, knowing it's basically a cover zero blitz. And, he's going to need to get rid of the ball soon. This is the kind of stuff that leads to these games being too tight, and it leads to Aiden O'Connell setting a career high in passing yards, which is crazy.
And real quick, I'm pretty sure, I can fact check this real quick, but I'm pretty sure the Chiefs defense is giving up the most yards to tight ends of any team in the NFL right now.
They were before that game, and there's no
They
question
most certainly are still.
Yeah. So I know it's everyone's, everyone understands how that works, how the Chiefs, defense right now is struggling. It's been a few games, but it just feels like it's individual matchups. It feels like guys need to execute better. Spags, he has to put guys in risky positions. That's how his defense works. Maybe he needs to lessen that, right? Maybe now that Omenihu is back, we will get more impact from the 4-man rush, and you will have to drop more 7 in coverage and just, trust that you can, create tight windows. But
they're not giving up a ton of points. They're just not executing in big moments like giving up these shot plays like they have to the Raiders, and then that last drive where they kind of just let them march and pick them apart, slowly like that. Like that's the kind of stuff that last season they didn't let happen. They didn't give up big plays and they didn't let teams just sit there and pick them apart late. So that's kind of, I think, been the difference because overall, I think they're still a solid unit. It's just these situations have not been great at certain times.
No, but that's a good point because they have been a solid unit, but that's the dangerous or the maddening part about explosive plays is that they can flip a game so quickly, man. Those two touchdowns happened in 3 plays. And that's where all of a sudden the game is the Raiders in the lead. So this is where we'll go to my guy Max here, who does have a comment. And I think this speaks to what we're talking about. I feel like it's everybody. Brian Cook has not been highlighted in this package, but I absolutely think he is not doing very well as a free safety, as a deep safety, getting over the top of a lot of stuff. He definitely hasn't been as fast as he was, I feel like, last year. I thought in training camp you saw that same speed, acceleration. I thought he was all the way back, but man, you've seen it in the season. He's not covering as much ground, I feel like, as he needs to. And that's going to help the corner. So it's everybody in the back end right now. I really feel like everyone needs to play better. And that's what it really is. But we also need to look at the offense, Caleb, and you're going to look at the Chargers pass rush after we look at these few clips because, this was another bad day for the Chiefs pass protection. And honestly, Caleb, maybe before we get into it, just give me your thoughts on, Wanya Morris right now, because clearly he's not coming back in the lineup. The Chiefs have kind of, indicated that DJ Humphries or Joe Thuney are going to be. That's plan A, plan B. So what do you think? How did you take in that Wanya, just the latest kind of struggling performance?
Yeah, and listen, real quick before I jump back to the performance, just looking at like an overarching theme of the month, but the Chiefs gave up, I believe, the second most, or they gave up the third most pressures and the second most sacks in the month of November. I mean, you can't have that and expect to win. And I know they played a couple of more games than everyone else did, but it was bad in general from the tackle play. I think the interior was fine for the most part, outside of a few instances here and there. The tackle play is bad right now. I think there's something going on with Wanya Morris. I do think he's suffering an injury. But on the other side of the ball, we saw a very bad month from Jawan Taylor, where Jawan Taylor jumped up to like top 4 in the league in penalties. So there was that issue, kind of came back into life after he'd been fine the first few months of the year. But Ron, you can go ahead and show these. I probably have some overlapping ones, but I believe we know what play this is.
Well, I want to show a couple plays where you can see Mahomes overcome a shaky pocket, overcome a muddy pocket, and still, deliver a confident throw. This one actually doesn't, work out, but you see the Raiders bring a blitz, it caves. He steps up in the pocket and floats one. And you actually, if you listen to the New Heights podcast, you heard Kelsey talk about this week, that he was really frustrated with this. He's frustrated with the red zone in general, but this play, really what it is, it's, cover zero, obviously. So, it's man to man all the way. Kelsey knows this ball has to get out quick. So that's where he's on that path. But he kind of talked about in the podcast where he knows if that ball wasn't out to him right here, he kind of in his head kind of knows that Mahomes is probably breaking the pocket or, avoiding the pressure. And so he has to get kind of scramble drill mode and get open. And so the ball just kind of comes a little later than he expects. But if he stays on that path, it's a touchdown. He beats the guy cleanly. And Mahomes doesn't have the time, obviously, to see him, go all the way back because it is cover zero. And that's where it is a little frustrating to, on Kelsey's part. Like, he probably should understand that he just needs to take that path all the way, unless he sees Mahomes break the pocket. But all that to say, I just love how Mahomes steps up in the pocket here and really just takes on the rush, makes the throw. And again, I think he makes the right throw. I think this is more on Kelsey for, freelancing a bit too quickly or a bit too, soon in the play. but I also want to show this play too, because you see Wanya get beat on this play, and this could have been a touchdown. Mahomes just kind of, the route path and where Mahomes' throw goes is kind of off, but steps up in the pocket and just lets it go. And, Noah Gray does find the separation. You're going to see that he works across the field against the safety. And, Mahomes just kind of throws it more vertically. Noah Gray is going more towards the sideline. I don't know, which one's necessarily correct, but I would probably say Mahomes just needs to put it on him here. I think he does just kind of miss this. But again, I love this pocket presence. But, it just wears on Mahomes. It goes on the whole game, where he feels this over and over. This is before the 2 sacks. The 2 sacks added up that one. I don't have the clip of it, but the one, from where it kind of, where Mahomes came up really frustrated. And obviously that was Wanye's last game or Wanye's last snap. That one, it adds up. And then you're going to see it, on the last drive where they could have had a chance to ice the game if they sustain a drive. He checks down here. You'll see it from the end zone angle, but Kelsey's running in. That this drop defender that would be in Kelsey's window. If you kind of look at it from the end zone, you'll see it. I think he's going to pick up the running back either way. And so I think this window's coming open if Mahomes hangs in the pocket, and he absolutely has a chance to. But I'll just let the play speak for itself. I mean, Mahomes just anticipates pressure, and look at those feet, man. Those are happy, happy, happy feet. Joe Thuney, he obviously gives up some ground to a really good pass rusher, but he's a guard. That's what he is used to, and he sits down, right? He sits down and catches him, and so Mahomes does have the room to step up here, and maneuver that pocket and get to Kelsey. But what do you think about this?
Even on that last snap of Wanya's, Mahomes probably isn't going to get hit if he just steps up in the pocket. But he's so used to it back there that he got uncomfortable and jumped up. And here, he can probably do the same thing, knowing that there is honestly more pressure coming off the right side than there is the left, because Joe Thuney does anchor himself in pretty well here once that first contact is made. I actually like how he kind of lets Crosby get into him just a little bit, and then he kind of goes and snatch like that so that he can get hands on and make up for the length disadvantage. But obviously with Mahomes' feet here in the pocket, he is not comfortable, and it's hard to make good, accurate, on-time throws when your legs are moving and you're not stepping really in the direction that you're trying to throw.
Yeah, no, he doesn't want to be like this. He knows he wants to be better pocket management. But again, it's like it's human nature when the whole entire play or the whole entire game, and for weeks too, man. It's, again, 10 sacks over the last 2 games. Mahomes has never been sacked that much over 2 games. I didn't look that up, but I can guarantee you that's true, because they already have more sacks than he's ever had in a season this year. He's already been sacked more than he's ever been in one season this year.
Oh, definitely.
Very unprecedented.
And I mean, you take a look at some of these plays here down in the goal line. This one, I mean, not great when you're just whiffing with one tackle. You see Wanya here on the left is going to have a little bit of help, just some presence, not like a ton of help. Gets out and sets, and he gets caught lunging with a nasty cross chop from the edge rusher here, who cleanly beats him. You see why Pat is uncomfortable, because he has a man running directly at him. And on the other side of the ball, Juwan oversets, and Crosby comes in, just throws a nice swim move, and both of the guys kind of combine to get back there in the pocket. And you just take a look. I mean, this doesn't even really have time to develop. Like, he doesn't have a ton of time to go through a read, because the cross chop guy is back there instantly, and he's just ready to take the sack and try to get out of there. He does not about to Houdini that one, especially with Crosby coming back to the inside.
And it's just so funny, because Caleb Chason was a first-round pick all the while ago, but obviously he's been a complete bust in the NFL, and of course he finds the juice against Wanya Morris. But I think that kind of tells you maybe about the pass protection in Wanya.
Yeah, and then I'll just go one more real quick. Don't need to go on, but for anyone, people going, Mahomes is having a down year. He does still
This is
make
another great
he
example.
does still kind of do Mahomes-like things that not a lot of other quarterbacks are going to sit in there and do. And this could have easily been a sack. It could have been another big hit. I mean, this play could have gone a lot of ways, but you have to give Mahomes credit because he did just sitting here and take this one. But you see top of the screen again, Morris gets cleanly beat to the outside. He's just kind of turns and cuts down the angle for the edge rusher. He's not really quick enough. Pat's drop back is at pretty fine depth right here, but Wanya is not at a tremendous angle. The other side of the line holds up just enough, but Pat's getting smoked as he's throwing this ball, and he doesn't have a lot of time to get it away. But what you respect about Patrick Mahomes is he knows what's about to happen, but he also knows if he can put the ball up just enough that you see Justin Watson there kind of running across the left hash, he is going to have just a step on that inside defender because everyone is kind of clearing out with Nuke. They're paying attention to Kelsey, and he's kind of the one-on-one man that needs to win a matchup here. And Pat puts it on him, and Watson goes up and makes sure to bring that one down. Awesome play by those two, but those are not hits that you want your quarterback taking, especially multiple times a game, especially when he is the most important player on your roster.
Yeah, no, that throw though is what we need to see Mahomes do more moving forward because there's no, DJ Humphries coming in, like no one, we cannot expect it to be, you know, like this all of a sudden, oh yeah, that's fine. Like, they're gonna have to deal with shaky left tackle performance for the rest of the season if they want to win another Super Bowl. And a lot of that is just Mahomes overcoming it himself. And that was a great example of it too. He threw that ball, way before, Watson, had created the separation, way before he had cleared that other corner, that if the corner, obviously catches a glimpse of that throw, he could turn, but obviously they're in man coverage. So he's, locked in. Like that was just all anticipation, all timing, like, especially in the red zone where they've been struggling. Like Mahomes just has to do that more. They need to cook up more plays where he can do that. Because the pass protection is going to be shaky the rest of and you mentioned Jawan. Like I shouldn't even be just talking about the left tackle.
Yeah, man.
Oh, they have a big matchup coming up. I mean,
oh boy, do they.
Sunday night. And a lot of, I mean, as you get this up, like I tweeted it out after the game last week, but obviously Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, Tuli Tuipulotu, and Bud Dupree coming in for the Chargers. Okay. But they also got Myles Garrett coming up. They got Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter coming up. They got TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, Nick Herbig coming up. They got the Denver pass rushers at the end of the year. Hopefully, we can really hoping we can rest Mahomes on that game so there's no extra hits taken on that game. But a lot of big pass rush coming up, Caleb. A lot of big pass rush.
Tons of big ones. And I mean, this game, you're going against a team of the Chargers. They had the second most sacks and the seventh most pressures in the month of November. So kind of the Chiefs coming off of one of their worst months protecting Mahomes they've ever had. And the Chargers D-line is starting to look extremely legit. They've got the big names, the all-pro guys you've heard of and know about, but they got a guy. He's definitely a guy we studied a lot in the draft a couple of years back. But Tuli Tuipulotu, coming out of USC a couple of years ago, an absolute stud. He's over here playing the right defensive tackle on this play. He was second in the NFL in the month of November in sacks with 6, behind only Myles Garrett. So that's excellent company to be in. And he has kind of been the driver of the bus for this Chargers defense, which is scary considering who they have on it. But they've hit gold with their defensive line. They've been a big part of their team. And they'd make a lot of plays with movements. They don't keep guys stationary. They like to move around. They want to run stunts and twists like they do there. And Joe Burrow, they bait him perfectly. Joe Burrow thinks the field is opening up in the middle and he's going to be able to run like he does. But you see Tuli and the nose tackle, they execute perfectly an NT twist. Bosa and Bud Dupree keeping him wide in the pocket. He thinks he's going to be able to come over the cross, the top. You see how explosive and fast Tuipulotu is here because he gets off the guard. The center doesn't have a chance, and they corral Joe Burrow back there for the sack. on that play. He's been outstanding. And here's something else, Chiefs fans, he is also a tremendous athlete. He plays very well in space at times. He's going against the Titans here. Will Levis, not a great quarterback, but he's a good athlete. You see Tui Pelotu was matched up there against the tight end. Levis thinks he's going to go put a move on him, and Tui Pelotu tackles him in the open field for nothing. You think that might be something they might do this week to keep Mahomes from killing them in the flats like he tends to do time and time again. So they're going to have different guys they could put in different places to kind of limit what Mahomes can do. And Tui Pelotu is one of those guys. You mentioned it. We go back to it. We played them, here not too long ago, and Bud Dupree kicked the Chiefs' offensive line's ass. He had 5 pressures and 2 sacks. There's no way around it. Here he is against Jawan, and he gets the sack on Mahomes. You see how he does it, though. He's lining up wide. The Chargers got 6 guys acting like they're all going to go. They drop one guy, so it becomes kind of the Chiefs do have numbers and protection just with Samaje Perine there. And you see Dupree is getting Jawan to try to induce him upfield, and he does, but Jawan gets caught leaning. Pat is trying to step up, doesn't like his read here. Khalil Mack coming hard off the edge versus Wanya on the other side. And I do think Wanya's hurt because he doesn't really play terrible in this game against these guys, which is something that I remembered going back and looking at this. But Dupree comes free and blasts Mahomes, and really nothing to do there. But nowhere to go for Mahomes, and he ends up just eating it. Dupree's been another big player for them this season. He's a great counterpart to some of the power rushers they have because he's longer. He can bend the arc. He's explosive. And they've still got some other guys you might have heard of also. If you've heard of like Joey Bosa or Khalil Mack or any of those fellas, they are old, but they can still play some ball. And you see on this play, that time that was Tui Pelotu again, but you see Bosa, and this was actually a good example I'm going to write about of just how they use their twists and stunt games here. But they basically run a double TE stunt or a TE twist where the tackles penetrate up the field and the ends run around because you see quarterback thinks he's good to go, and then all of a sudden the D-line closes down on him late there. Let me see.
Pat loves to try to take advantage of those voids up the middle, and no, he can get fooled on those.
Yeah, and then they do have one of my favorite pass rushers we've had, and there's Khalil Mack working on Ronnie Stanley a little bit here, getting back there quick, showing that he's still got the explosion. So that's kind of scary considering what we've seen out of some of the Chiefs tackle play so far this season, but there has been a development. Don't know officially, but we haven't gotten to talk about it on here really too much because it was at a really strange time when all of this went down. But the Chiefs could possibly have a new left tackle here in the first week of December.
Yeah. DJ Humphries is, Andy Reid basically, saying he's ready to roll. And he's not saying that because he would never say that, but coach speak wise, that's what it sounds like. So it sounds like that's plan A. And, it's crazy that we're here, where Joe Thuney is. I never thought he would actually be, legitimate. Like Andy would never admit that they would actually use him at left tackle, in a non-emergency situation. But he kind of admitted that. And so the Chiefs are in dire straits right now and are trying to find solutions, and they got to adjust the offense to do that too, as we've talked about. But they're going to have some tests to do so before the postseason. There's no doubt about it.
Look, and put on a little DJ Humphries here because why not? We haven't got a chance to talk about him yet. But I don't want Chiefs fans to think he's going to come in here and be Willie Roaf. He's an older tackle. He hasn't played in the season. That'd
be nice though. That'd be sick.
Nice. Well, I don't think we'd turn that down. But let's be semi-realistic because he hasn't played in over a year. What he's going to do, though, is he's going to bring some attitude and he's going to bring some fight that the Chiefs have not had out of their left tackle. He's going against one of the best pass rushers in the NFL, Nick Bosa, right here on this play. You don't playing perfect versus Nick Bosa is hard. The Chiefs know that better than anyone. But when you get a guy like Humphries who's going to challenge him, that's what you want. And yeah, Bosa starts to win this play. Humphreys is a really strong core, so he's trying to sit down. And really here, he's not going to give up a hit on the quarterback. He may get bowled into the pocket a little bit, but there's going to be time to get something off. And here, like you see, the ball is off. The quarterback knows he's going to get a little bit of friction here at the end. What I like about DJ Humphreys is he is physical. He does try to finish plays, and he does play hard. And you see he does finish Bosa to the ground on the play. So, yeah, not a perfect rep, but that's an attitude kind of play right there. That's an attitude kind of win. And that's what the Chiefs have to get back to doing because their interior is still playing, I think, at a very high level, which is frustrating. The tackle play hasn't been there this season because these are games that you just want to be able to see, the Chiefs, entire offensive line be able to put it together so that they can make plays. So very good. Where Humphreys plays well at, he doesn't get bull rushed a lot. You see him sit this guy down right here. That's textbook. That's really good. And he doesn't get beat wide around the edge.
Oh, never mind. Sorry. I thought that was DeMarcus Lawrence for a second.
No, but still an impressive rep. Obviously, Micah Parsons on the other end carving up those Cardinals. But you see coming in, this defensive lineman gives him a big bull rush, but he's able to sit back, anchor, pops it in, and pretty much just takes away the pass rush. If the Chiefs can get something like that, they'll be fine. But let me find one I've got here of him taking on some edge rushers because in all honesty, that's where the Chiefs need him to be good at is when guys are trying to go wide and kind of trying to bend the arc on people because that's kind of where they've struggled.
Yeah, that's and Pat should be used to that by now. I feel like all of his left tackles in his career have struggled. They've been like since Orlando Brown, I guess, but guys that struggle with speed sometimes. But it's true.
Where Humphreys is smart, he does understand pocket angles. That's just something that comes with time as a veteran. He knows the point to where he has to get to with his hips square, and then the point to where he can turn and run guys around the pocket. So you'll kind of see that here. He gets out of his stance pretty good. He's with the guy. He's got a good relationship with him. He's not just turning and open. He's got kind of mid torso to knee relationship with the guy, but now he's made his contact, but he's got the guy on a point where when the quarterback hits his drop, now the edge rusher is going to have to fight back over the top. And this is where having long arms and being a decent athlete helps out. And I do like the finish here at the end just to put a guy down. That's what they got to get back to. Is he going to be the same as he was in Arizona? We don't know. That's the big mystery. That's the big question. Are the Chiefs at a point where they might possibly be desperate enough to just go ahead and throw a guy out there and give him a chance to play? Possibly, yes. I think we could very well be at that point in the season, but it's going to, a lot of it's just going to come down to them being able to protect Pat. They're still going to, and I don't have much more for Humphrey, but what it's going to come down to is they have to get one tackle that's playable. I think Jawan Taylor can be playable. He picked a really, really bad time to play his worst football of the season after it kind of looked like he had us going, okay, he's not that bad. He had a rough year last year. He's kind of fixed some things. He's never going to be an all-pro, but we can put him out there and he'll look fine. And then with the issues the Chiefs have had at their other left tackle with the Wanya getting hurt, the Suamai Taia Chronicles, and whatever else it was that he decided to do, being penalized and giving up sacks all month long, just made for a really bad combination. So let's see what Humphreys can do.
Yep.
Tamper your expectations, though. Let's just give the guy a chance to play.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good message going into this game. Again, I think that's a good stat to pull. Chargers second most sacks in the NFL in the month of November. I mean, that defense is playing well. They have, good players in the front seven, good play caller.
I will say he is a very good run blocker. I think he can still run block well, even coming off of an injury. He's very good in double team situations that Chiefs like to run. power and counter to the left side quite a bit when they can get Trey Smith pulling and down block. Please run the ball more. Please run the ball more. We have Pacheco. I mean, Pacheco is back. Now we
Yes.
can split some carries between him and Hunton there. Get P. Ryan starting to go a little bit. It's just try to run the ball more. That will help this if they can get back to a point where they can kind of maul people in the run game. And I think having solid tackles can help that.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good way to kind of put a cap on the Chargers preview is run the ball. Run the ball this week. Isiah Pacheco got the Chiefs' first, run of, I think it was first run of 20 yards or something the entire season. It's a 34-yard run this last week. The explosive element of this run game is back with Pacheco. He honestly didn't look, necessarily, any slower, or any, less explosive. I'm sure maybe, the more he comes back, the more he could even look more explosive. But use him and Kareem Hunt. Use this offensive line. That's what they're best at right now. The pass protection's been shaky. They had the highest pass rate of the entire season they've had in one game this last week against the Raiders. Did not establish a run whatsoever, and it wasn't working or anything except out of that one run play. It was like the only successful run in the entire game. I saw that stat. So one of only two, I think. But all that to say, run the ball this week. Run the ball against the Chargers. Avoid their pass rush. And any other final keys to this game, Caleb, before we get out of here?
Nope. Could be a real classic Chiefs Chargers kind of game. I think the Chargers are going to go all out for this one. I think it means a lot to their team if they could have Harbaugh come in here and beat the Chiefs in his first season as their coach at Arrowhead in prime time. And boy, the narratives that would start after that. It would be, the Chargers own the West all over again after that one, even though the Chiefs beat them earlier this season. But we'll see what happens. I just think I think if there's a game this season where the Chargers are going to go all out, it has to be this one.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about that. There's no question. And I do think you'll see the Chiefs, come in and answer that energy, answer that, the big game, night game, Arrowhead prime time. Again, that calendar change, that month did turn, and sometimes when you have a bad month, you just need to get to that next month and turn it around, right? So I do think I'm in on the Chiefs playing, really well this game and bringing it back, getting back to a really good, performance and getting a victory here. I don't know. You got a prediction here? Because I do think the Chiefs come away with it.
I think the Chiefs are going to come away with it. I think it'll probably come down to something late. Supposed to be a pretty nice day Sunday, probably be a little cooler in the evening. So I don't know how much the weather is going to be in play for this one, but it's going to be close. I think the Chiefs are going to have to probably sustain a little bit late, some shots from the Chargers early. I would really, really like to see if Mahomes and Worthy could put it together because that would be nice. But I have a feeling big D-Hop game, probably big Kelsey game.
Well, shoot, we got another question. Shout out my guy Max. And honestly, just before we get out of here, just because he asked about it, just because I do have one play that kind of goes into what he's talking about, and kind of you just mentioned it too. So I mean, great segue here, but the Chiefs, they need to have more max pass protections, right? More maximum pass pros where they have more guys in and just one man routes. And they tried to do this on this play here against the Raiders, where Xavier Worthy's going to run a deep comeback, and they have 8 men in protection initially. They only have 2 routes going out at the snap of the ball, and you just see that they just don't have time. And when you get to the end zone view, which you're going to see Mahomes, he could have released this quicker, and with more anticipation on Worthy running off of his route. But at the same time, you look at the end zone view. As soon as he comes back, Wanya is getting beat and it's getting right in Mahomes' face, and he just has to check down. So even with 8 people committed to pass protection at first, chipping, both tight ends chipping each side, running back even in to stay and block. It just takes one guy sometimes. And so we're hoping DJ Humphries to be a little more solid. So shout out Max, another good question there. And even with the Max Pass Pro, sometimes
Most
it's just one guy.
most definitely. I mean, the Chiefs shipping rules are weird. I tweeted about it last week because there was a play against Carolina that they get a chip. Jawan Taylor gets a chip, and then the I can't remember who specifically it was, but he gets chip help, and then the tackle or the defensive end literally just runs straight to the inside of him, like it didn't even make a difference that the Chiefs even attempted to do what they do. Let me see if I can pull that up here because it was like, well,
You
what's
have
the
to
point of
execute those. Yeah,
it's like, well, I mean, the whole point of it is like sometimes the chip block can hurt.
exactly.
Sometimes if the tackle doesn't know what's happening, the chip isn't going to make a difference because you're opening the door. Those play, I can't find it right now, but those plays, some of those plays against Denver, where it looked like
Yeah,
Suamataia was sleepwalking out there. You see the tight end is then to give him like a little shove, and Suamataia sets all the way out. So the chip doesn't always impact a play the way you think it will. And the tweet, I can try to refine the tweet. I don't think I can share it right now, but just if the tackles and backs and tight ends aren't on the same page for what's happening, it can honestly hurt a lot more. And the way the Chiefs tackles have overset at times this season, it has actually been detrimental, I think.
no, yeah, and that comes down to coaching. That comes down to execution. Like, why are you calling the chip? If it's not going to be impactful, or find different ways to make sure the chip's impactful. Coach it differently. If you're going to use it. So, that's where there's so many little things with this Chiefs offense that are holding it back just a little bit. But I will say, last shout out to Max. He does go tee hop for 10 catches this week. Pacheco anytime. I do think you're seeing the Mahomes start to. He had 4 deep balls to D Hop this last game. 2 of them were DPIs. I think you're starting to see Mahomes just say, "Screw it, I'm just going to start throwing to D Hop, no matter how covered he is. To bail out me if the play isn't working." I think you're going to see D Hop become more and more of a big part of this offense, especially down the field to the sideline. I think Mahomes starting to trust that.
Nah, I'm ready for it. Hopkins is unlike anything Mahomes has ever played with. The way that he plays and the way that he does things is stuff that Pat's not quite used to. And the Chiefs have never been like the big merchants of pass interferences, but maybe the way the offense has struggled, it's time to start trying to go get some.
Yeah, no doubt. And since we're just shouting out people in the comments, I just want to make sure we get to everybody. And so, yeah, he just asked about Watson's injury. We talked about that. Trent McDuffie has not played in the slot whatsoever these last few games, and that's really impacting this coverage. Shamari Connor has to play primarily in the slot. So, yeah, I think Watson's injury has been huge. I think underrated, Caleb. L'Jarius Sneed, Jalen Watson, Trent McDuffie last year as a cornerback trio. Very, very good. If we're seeing how bad Jalen Watson's injury is impacting this team, it's a huge drop off from last year's cornerback group.
Oh, definitely. I mean, that group last year was just solid, and they all had a role, and they all played it perfectly week in, week out. Like, McDuffie is in the slot. He's going to take on your speedster. Snead is going to go against your one. He's just going to go take away everything. And then just on the outside, Watson's just going to, bang with guys. He's going to compete. He's not giving anything up. If they throw a flag, so be it. He's not going to have someone just sit out there and moss him all day.
Yeah, no, I miss Jalen Watson. He had that physicality, but he also was a very clean cover guy. And you usually don't get both of that, the physicality and the clean coverage. Well, yeah, shout out everyone in the comments. Shout out everyone tuning in tonight. Had a little tangent, but hey, Chargers coming in Sunday night. Caleb, we're there. Are you going to that game at all? Are you going to
Probably not that one.
Yeah,
Don't think I'll be in this one. Been to a bunch so far this year. I'll be at the Texans game, so probably won't be at this one on Sunday night.
Well, shout out Max for the Texans game. We'll talk about that. But yes, sir. All right. Appreciate everyone in the live chat. Arrowheadpride.com. Make sure you check it out. Make sure you get ready for the Chiefs Chargers game. I'll have 5 things to watch later this week. Caleb will be writing about the Chargers defense and what to look out for in that respect. Some of the stuff we talked about tonight. For now, we'll sign off. For Caleb, I'm Ron. Appreciate you joining, and we will catch you next time.